Ozempic costs up to $1,000 a month. It makes 1 in 5 people nauseous, and the second you stop injecting it, weight comes back on. But there's a simple drink, one that costs less than $1 to make, and it works through the same hormone that Ozempic targets. Not only that, it comes with none of the side effects, and it does one thing that the medications and the drugs doesn't even touch. It reduces the fat inside your liver, which is the first step before you can lose real weight, meaningful weight, anywhere else on your body. So in this video, I'm going to show you the powerful ingredients in this drink, exactly how they burn fat, how to make it yourself, and how to make it 5 times more potent, and then a free, easy hack that multiplies fat burning even further according to the research. And I've also got a special announcement at the end that you're not going to want to miss. Now, to understand why this drink works, you need to understand how Ozempic or GLP-1 inhibitors work, because this first ingredient that I'll show you targets the exact same pathways. So if you're on that medication, and your doctor's giving it for some kind of condition, I'm not telling you to stop that medication. I would never tell you that. I'm just saying it's very interesting that we're not talking about these superfoods that run down the same pathway and have a same impact in our body in a much healthier way. So some of you are probably already familiar with this. So Ozempic copies a hormone that your body already makes. It's called GLP-1. GLP-1 is your body's natural fullness signal. It tells your brain, stop eating. It slows down digestion, so then you stay satisfied longer. And it helps your body handle blood sugar so efficiently that fat burning stays switched on instead of shutting down. The problem is that your natural GLP-1 only lasts about 2 minutes in your bloodstream. That's because there's an enzyme in your body called DPP-4. You don't have to remember that, but it destroys the GLP-1 almost as fast as your body can make it. Ozempic was engineered to get around that enzyme, and that's the entire trick that the drug does. And this first ingredient in this drink works in the same way. It not only boosts GLP-1 levels, but it also blocks that enzyme that's destroying them. And it doesn't stop there. As you're about to see, very excited to show you this research. It also reduces fat inside the liver. It boosts thermogenesis. That's just burning fat while you're doing nothing. And it improves fat burning during exercise. Very cool study I'm going to show you there. So what am I talking about? Matcha green tea. There is a good version of green tea, and then there is a far superior version. I'm going to explain that in a second, but look at this research first. In a double-blind clinical trial, that's the gold standard in medical research, patients with fatty liver drank a high catechin green tea for 12 weeks. They took 17 patients. These patients already had fatty liver disease. They consumed green teas, 1 high density catechins. Make a note of that. I will explain what that means in a little bit. The second group drank low density catechin green tea. And there was a placebo group that got nothing. They thought they were getting something, but they didn't. And then here's the unique part that I've not seen done in a study. They did ultrasounds and CT scans at baseline and then after 12 weeks, looking at their organs and the visceral fat built up in their organs like their liver. They measured liver levels. They measured how much fat was being burnt up. They measured their antioxidant profiles. Now, catechins are the active fat-burning compounds in green tea. That's the one I just mentioned. Matcha is the most catechin-dense form of green tea that you can drink because you're consuming the whole leaf instead of a watered down step. So regular green tea, you steep the green tea in hot water, still beneficial. But when you use matcha green tea, because a lot of people aren't familiar with what it is, matcha green tea are the actual leaves ground down, and then you just add it into your cup instantly. And we're talking 3 to 10 times more catechins per cup than regular brewed green tea. So that's the low, so placebo got nothing, low catechin green tea, still beneficial, but then they added high catechin, high quality matcha, 3 to 10 times higher in the catechin intake. So what happened to those patients after 12 weeks? Let's go back to the research here. Let's look at body weight, the placebo, the low catechin, regular green tea, and the big drop and high density. And then they looked at body fat percentage. And these things were a little more obvious to see. The placebo gained weight. The low density lost a little. High catechin green tea lost a lot. They looked at liver function. So across the board, they were looking at the impact. And the big thing with this one is that in the study, the ratio of the liver when doing this for 12 weeks went from 91%. Remember, below 100 means fat is built up in here. And then afterwards, it was 101. After 12 weeks of drinking the high catechin tea, it meant that fat was leaving the liver. This is huge. If you know me, I teach all about this. I wrote an entire book all about liver health. It is the fastest growing condition in the world. This is why I get so excited on this, because it's something that these GLP-1s don't do. They don't remove the fat from the liver. The liver went from fattier than normal to back to normal. And as you saw just a minute ago, you could see the body composition changing. Significant drop in the high catechin groups. Liver enzyme levels were not impacted with regular green tea, but they were significantly impacted when it was matcha. So the matcha is doing two things at once. It's hitting the same GLP-1 pathways that switch, just like an Ozempic. And it's clearing out the most important organ for fat loss, your liver. But there is a second ingredient that I love that pairs perfectly with matcha and enhances the benefits even more. It's like matcha tea's cousin. It's also in Ozempic territory for how it impacts your body. That's because it attacks that same DPP4 enzyme. When you stack this ingredient with matcha in your cup, the two of them together are way more effective than either one just by itself. This ingredient has been used traditionally in medicine, especially in India, for over 4,000 years. It's been studied for fat loss, blood sugar, cholesterol, blood pressure. It supports all of those healthy processes inside of the body. Basically, the entire list of things that a lot of those medications, injections are getting prescribed for. And the way that it works is totally different from matcha. What am I talking about? Moringa. It's also known as the miracle tree. It's one of the most nutrient-dense plants ever studied. But the reason it's in this drink is nothing to do with the vitamins inside of it. The 92 nutrients are nice, but it's a compound inside the leaf specifically called isothiocyanates. And that blocks the same DPP4 enzymes as some of those most expensive medications on the market. It goes through the same pathway. In fact, in a 16-week human trial, people who added a moringa-based supplement lost an average of 6 times the fat compared to a placebo group. Just like matcha, moringa also helps with that liver fat as well. In animal research, it shows it can prevent fatty liver from forming in the first place. And that is tied to all that richness of antioxidants. That's why I call it matcha's cousin. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you the combination of matcha and moringa in a cup is a one-for-one replacement for a prescription or injection or something that your doctor is working with you for a diagnosis or some kind of issue. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I love it when superfoods have very good research behind them. They're very easily accessible when you get the right ones, and it's so simple to implement in your day. Why would you not add health to your regimen, even if you are on those medications or choose to take those things, and you can start to see those benefits? So this is not a replacement, but these do pull on the same hormones that Ozempic pulls on, plus a few other levers that Ozempic doesn't, for about $1 a day instead of thousands of dollars a month. And then naturally, without the side effects, is a nutrition-focused way to enhance your weight loss and health toxin-free. So let me show you exactly how to make this drink and then how you can get the absolute most fat-burning power out of it. We've got that one more big study coming in a moment. So start with 8 to 12 ounces of hot water, not boiling. If you boil it too hot, it can hurt and damage some of the compounds in the matcha. And you want to add a half a teaspoon of organic, high-quality matcha. That just means the cleanest, highest quality, brightest green powder that you can find. After that, sprinkle in moringa leaf and make sure it's the actual ground leaf, not the extract. Extracts use heat that destroys the compounds that we talked about. So you don't get that rich nutritionist benefit if you're using an extract of especially moringa. Now, the more that you add, the earthier the mix becomes when you talk about moringa. However, the more you add, the better the impact. So I usually lean towards taste on this one versus overdoing the moringa. Whisk it together, stir it till it's smooth. Don't drink it yet. There's 2 add-ons you can consider, okay? First one, there's one more ingredient that you can add to supercharge the absorption. A little squeeze of fresh lemon juice. This is an add-on. You don't have to do this, but the problem most people don't realize is in your digestive tract, up to 80% of the fat-burning compounds that are in matcha, they can begin to get broken down before your body can fully absorb them. But researchers at Purdue found that a squeeze of a citrus juice preserves 5 times more of the catechins through digestion. So you can go from absorbing 20% of it to 80% of it simply by adding just a little bit of one of my favorites, the lemon. It turns that matcha from a partial dose to a full dose in your body. Then as a completely optional add-on, if you want to stack one more fat-burning ingredient on top and you don't mind the taste of it, you could add a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar. I always love this one because it blunts the blood sugar spike from your next meal, and then it pushes on the same GLP-1 and insulin angle as the matcha and the moringa. Just as important of what you add to the drink and what you put in it, though, is what you don't put in it, okay? You want to avoid sugar. You want to avoid flavored syrups. They undo that blood sugar effect and benefit almost immediately, and you want to avoid adding too much dairy. Or you could skip dairy altogether. The proteins in dairy kind of have mixed research. They bind to the EGCG, they bind to the catechin, they bind to the antioxidants that are in matcha to alter the absorption, kind of the opposite of what the lemon juice does. So point being, we don't want to overdo dairy. So if you want a creamer in, which I highly advise for a matcha latte, we go with a collagen protein as the creamer. And the one that I use, it has monk fruit in it, so it gives it that sweetness as a creamer. It's got some of that consistency as a creamer, but that supports healthy blood sugar levels, helps to build and stimulate the metabolism, build muscle, which stimulates the metabolism. Now, as for timing, optimally, you want to drink this 2 hours before a meal or up to 30 minutes before. Any time in that window is optimal. And we could be thinking about dinner. We could be thinking about lunch. A lot of times, my coffee plus moringa or my matcha plus moringa is sort of a bit of a replacement in the morning, especially if my matcha or my coffee has protein in it. I'm starting my day with protein and nutrients, lots of antioxidants. I don't get very hungry because this is a meal suppressant. It's a satiety measurement. Now, I will say with dinner in the afternoon, if you choose to take it, there is a little bit of caffeine in matcha green tea, about a third of what you find in coffee. So if you take it too late in the day, we don't want to be messing with sleep. We've got to protect that. 2 to 3 hours before dinner could be an option. Kind of that early afternoon pick-me-up where a lot of people fill the gap with an energy drink or a soda. This could be the replacement of that. Or mid-morning to curb what lunch looks like. The reason that timing matters is that matcha and moringa need at least 30 minutes of a window to activate and then prop open the GLP-1 pathway. But by the time your meal hits, your natural Ozempic signal is already firing. For the hack that I mentioned at the start of the video, this is the simple addition that multiplies everything we just talked about. And it could not be easier. I'm talking about walking, specifically a 50 to 30 minute walk right after that meal. And then when you pair it with matcha, check this out. In a study from the University of Chichester, women who took matcha daily and then went for a brisk walk, and they measured the oxidation fat burning with moderate intensity. So they looked at one group that just went for a walk, and then they compared it to another group where they did a walk plus the matcha for 3 weeks long, and then they measured the outcome. The group that had the matcha had a 35% more fat burning effect during that walk than women who walked without matcha. So you could be walking, which is awesome post-meal, brings the sugar level down, where the easiest and most important things you can do is move after your meal. Find some way to move. But when you add matcha in a 2-hour period leading up to that, 35% more fat oxidation, fat burning mode. I love it when foods and things fire up the furnaces 35% more just by going for a short walk when you add this thing in. 3 things happen when you walk after a meal you prepped with matcha and moringa. First, you burn 35% more fat during the walk. Second, your blood sugar stays flat. People who walk for just 10 minutes after a meal have significantly lower blood sugars across the entire day than people who walk at another time. And lower blood sugar means lower insulin, which means your body stays in fat burning mode for hours afterwards. Thirdly, walking itself triggers your gut to release GLP-1. The hormones that matcha and moringa are already protecting get even more amplified. So the 3 separate levers on one hormone all pulled at the same time. That's why this protocol works so well. Matcha, moringa, drinking that, go for a walk. Boom, boom, boom. Now, if you remember at the beginning, I had a special announcement that I mentioned. Here it is. It's going to make this whole morning routine a lot easier to stick with. The number one reason people give up on a recipe like this is because they struggle to find the ingredients. When it comes to matcha, you already know what to look for. Bright cream, actual ground leaf, no filler, organic. The problem is that most of what's on the shelf doesn't pass that test. Most matcha at the grocery store is dull, faded. It's been sitting in a warehouse for a long time. It's lost its potency. And moringa is even harder to find in the right form. Most brands use the heat processed extracts, and that destroys a lot of the very compounds that make it work so well in the first place. So I made my own. This is Nurse Livingood's request because she's drinking it so often. She's like, gosh, I would just love a very trusted source on this. And then I'm like, yeah, we can enhance it by using the moringa as well. So organic matcha, 1700 milligrams, plus added organic moringa leaf, ground right up right into it in the same scoop, but you can't taste the moringa leaf. It's blunted enough so it still has that really good, just subtly sweetness that a good organic matcha has. Everything you need to naturally support fat burning in the same ways as the harsher methods. And because matcha naturally contains amino acids called L-theanine, it slows down how your body absorbs the caffeine and then it enhances your focus. You get smooth energy that lasts for hours without the jitters or any kind of afternoon crash. If you want to try it, there's a link below. It's a 60-day guarantee money back if you didn't like it. There's also a free recipe guide that comes with it. Now, if you are also a coffee drinker like me, your morning cup is either helping you burn fat or quietly working against you, depending on what you put in it. So in my next video, I break down 6 simple upgrades that you can add to your coffee that turn it from a basic caffeine hit into a fat burning powerhouse. Each level stacks on the last, so you can combine them for an even stronger fat burning effect. I will include a link to that video here. Click to watch it next, and I'll see you there.